This is a professional camcorder that you can pick up today for about 600 euros on the used market. It has a motorized Powerzoom lens. It has professional XLR audio input, so you can get great audio. You can attach large batteries so you can record all day, and it has a big sensor so you can get that nice background blur. But this camera was released in 2012, so is it still a good camera today? Well, let's find out. The first thing that you notice on this thing is that it is obviously pretty big. So that means that if you want to carry this around everywhere, that can be a bit annoying. And also when you hold it like this, the center of gravity likes to pull like this, so it isn't very comfortable to hold for like hours at a time. And then you might think that this comes in really handy, which is a nice grip for your shoulder. But sadly this doesn't do anything, because the reason these shoulder pads are made is because it puts the center of gravity at your shoulder. So the weight should be here, but because the weight of the camera is right here, it doesn't do anything, and it just feels the same as if you're using your camera like this. So this small shoulder pad just barely adds anything, and I just prefer to shoot at a more lower angle than keep it like this. So the shoulder pad is just kind of useless in my opinion. Just using it like this is literally the same amount of comfort, and then you have more options to move the camera around. It just records on standard SD cards, so that means you can just hit record, pull out the SD card and put it into your video editing software, so that is really nice. And what I also like is the amount of options that you have here on the side. It has so many controls, just like the Sony FS700 and FS100. It has 6 programmable buttons, so it feels very similar to those cameras. So you do have the gain, white balance and shutter speed on the front, and then 6 programmable buttons at the back, and this nice scroll wheel to switch between menus. But if you don't like that, you also have 4 buttons on the top, but I definitely prefer this small dial here on the side. The build quality is actually nothing amazing. It's made fully out of plastic, and having just cheap plastic doesn't make it feel like a very professional camera. It's definitely fine, it's not terrible, but it's also nothing amazing. And 2 things that took me a while to find was actually the power on-off switch and the headphone port. The headphone port is here on the side, so if you ever need to monitor your audio, that's where it goes. And the power button is right next to the record button. There you can turn it on or off. And then here you have this screen that you can flip to any direction that you'd like. So that is very nice, and the screen actually looks pretty decent. It's nothing amazing, but it can go bright enough most of the time for outdoors. And the screen will automatically rotate if you turn it like this. The camera also has this built-in top handle, so you can grip it like this. And because of this top handle you can get some nice low angle shots, which is really cool to have. But it's not removable, so that's why this camera can't get to a very small compact body. And the grip that you're seeing right here is just fixed in place, so you hold it like this, but there's no way to adjust it like this or this. So on the other models like the FS5, FS7, FS100 and FS700 you do have that option, but on this one you don't. So this doesn't feel like a very comfortable grip to hold for a while. So how comfortable the camera is isn't actually that great. If you would buy this camera with the kit lens, it would be this 18 to 200mm f3.5 to 6.3 lens. So you can manually zoom or get a motorized zoom. If I switch it to servo, you can see now that it will do a slow zoom in. Also, when you fully zoom in, it's only f6.3, so that isn't great if you want to get a lot of background blur. But what I do like is that it has 12 times optical zoom, so you can zoom in really far. And even at f6.3 you will be able to get some nice background blur. So this lens is very versatile. I just don't like how slow the power zoom actually is. So this is the fastest zoom setting that it has, and you can see how slow it zooms in and out. But that's why it is so nice that there is a manual switch, so you can quickly zoom in and out fast. It's also a parfocal lens, so while you are zooming it will keep focus, except when you do a crash zoom, then it might get a little bit blurry. Obviously you have most of the professional features on here, so you have peaking, histogram, a zebra option, full manual control, but it doesn't have built-in ND filters. So if you want to get the low shutter speed when it is very bright outside, you won't be able to do that with this camera. This is the sensor of the camera. It is an APS-C sized sensor. So that means it will capture more light compared to smaller sensor camcorders. So compared to the old smaller sensored camcorders, it will be a bit better in low light. And you will be able to get that nice background blur. But keep in mind that this sensor is very old technology. So compared to newer, smaller sensored cameras, this one can actually be a bit worse in low light. And I actually think the sensor is one of the bigger downsides of this camera, and also the processing that it does on the sensor, because when you take photos on this camera, they look really nice, and it's probably more of a processing thing because the photos out of this camera look really nice. You can get some really great results when you take photos with this, but when we take a look at the video quality, it is just a little bit disappointing, honestly. The colors just don't look good at all, but luckily you do have the option for custom picture profile, so you can dial in a bit of settings and get a bit more of a saturated look out of it, and change if you want more or less contrast. But the amount of detail that the sensor actually captures is very low. So even though you do have a sharpness setting in the camera, that still doesn't change the fact that the video just doesn't look very sharp. Obviously, if you're just going to use this for simple YouTube videos, then it won't be that big of an issue. But keep in mind that there isn't that much detail that the sensor captures, so you won't get a very high quality image. And it only shoots in AVC HD, so no 4K. Which would have been fine if the AVC HD looks very sharp, but the AVC HD just doesn't have a very sharp image. It also has problems with moire and aliasing, so while this camcorder looks nice and it has the professional features, the image quality itself that you can get out of this isn't anything amazing, it's okay. Luckily, because it does have interchangeable lenses, it means that if you put a very high quality lens in front of it, then we'll be able to get some nice results. And because of the interchangeable lenses, you can get some lenses that have even more background blur. And that it has XLR ports for professional audio is also a really nice option. So you can connect a microphone and get really high quality audio. Another thing I like is the battery life. The battery life is just insanely good on this camera. And that is because you can choose between a small or a large battery. So with this camera you can just shoot videos for hours and it would still be fine. It also only has a single SD card slot. And the autofocus on this camera isn't great at all. You probably want to switch to manual focus a lot and then use the manual focus ring on the camera. So should you buy this NEX EA50 in 2025? Well, I think it's too expensive for what you're actually getting. If you still have one, you don't mind using manual focus, you don't need the best low light performance, and the image doesn't need to be perfectly sharp, then yes, this can still be a great camera and you can get some really nice results with it. Also because it has interchangeable lenses, so that will give you a lot of flexibility. But what they are going for now on the used market, I think they are too expensive for what you're actually getting. Because the autofocus is really bad, the image quality is really soft, so even something like the FS100 has more detail in the image. The codecs are already old, and it's not a very comfortable camera to hold for a longer period of time. But that doesn't mean that this is a bad camera, so if you still have one, or if you can find one for a very good price, then maybe it's worth picking up. But I myself wouldn't spend more than 300 euros on this camera. But what do you think of this NEX EA50? Let me know in the comments down below, and thank you so much for watching.